Hello humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer, the video game show that is brought to you from coast to coast of the Pacific. That's right, we're in Kuala Lumpur right now, previously in California. And today we're going to talk about the PlayStation Mini. And first, let me start off by saying that I am a Metal Jesus fan, right? I've watched him for years. I think he's cool for the most part, except for that one trip he tried to make. I pretty much like his content, right? But from time to time, and I have to say this is the only other time that I've disagreed with him, except for that trip that he planned out, is on this PlayStation Mini, right? And other YouTubers, to be fair, have, panned the PlayStation Mini for their lack of content or what have you. Now, let me start off by saying that not everybody has the room, right? Not everybody has Metal Jesus collection or large collection. Some of these YouTubers, they get donated stuff. They have the room to do it. They have the opportunity to do it. But I think sometimes they forget about the everyday working guy, right? Everyday working guy doesn't have the budget, right? Sometimes even the space to collect as much as they do or to have all the games they do. Instead of canceling games, here's an idea, for Metal Jesus or for any other YouTuber that is getting money from the public and is just canceling. Why don't you order it and give it away? You don't want it? You're getting all this free money, right? It's donations, whatever you want to call it. Give it back to the community. That would be, or donate it to kids in need, instead of just panning it and saying you're going to cancel it. You already paid for it, come on. Anyway, not everybody has those kind of opportunities, and most of all, people living in cities, in large cities, whether it's LA, San Francisco, New York, they don't have the room to make these big displays. I'm telling you, I lived in a small apartment in Los Angeles, and I had 16 consoles, right? And one time the best I could do in my entertainment system was to put 10 out at once, and that was pushing it, right? So we all don't have the space, man. It takes resources. It takes a lot of things. Not everybody has their cool borders, too, from whenever they bought it back in the day. Now, is every game bad in the collection? No. But I mean, a lot of the criticisms is, they could have had this game, and some of the games they're mentioning, they're like offbeat games. They're not, some are popular, but a lot of them are like, I wish I could have had this, my grandma gave me that one, I don't have this one, and in the end, does it matter? If you really want a bunch of games in there, you can hack it. Just like you did the NES Classic, just like you could the Super NES. It's going to be some sort of emulation, so you can do whatever the heck you want with it, man. I mean, you don't have to completely pan it for everybody and say that Sony failed, right? They're trying to do the best thing they can do at launch. Of course, they're trying to make money and pay the least amount of money to make this work. But who is it for, right? For a lot of us, the PlayStation, the original PlayStation, holds a very special place in our hearts. For a lot of our kids, for a lot of us, this was the first machine they truly identified themselves as a gamer, right? I can tell you what I'm gonna do with it. Let me close it here, low power. I'm gonna make a small display, and this is what I'm trying to do myself, is build a smaller display with all these mini consoles where I can consolidate, instead of having all these, consoles out, right? Because, it's tougher to have them out if you have kids around and stuff like that. I mean, you can't have these all the time. These consoles are, 20, 30 years old. Any bump, any falling, you're in trouble. And you can't keep them out all the time, man. I mean, I know, for example, my ColecoVision, I have to keep in storage and out of sight, man, because even the labels are starting to peel off. I have two games that I don't know which one's which, because the labels came off in the storage and they got mixed up. So I need to connect it back to a CRTV, plug them in and try to figure out and then tape them back in. So there is wear and tear also on you know, especially cartridge games, having them out. But, you know, I think that's part of what's missing in YouTube now. You know, everybody's so worried about chasing views. Everybody's so worried about, you know, getting money and the Patreon and come and see me on Twitch. I think sometimes when they make these videos, they forget about the small guy, right? The guy that's working, the guy that doesn't have all these games already in physical form, right? That, you know, they don't have Metal Gear or whatever. I do, but I'd rather have it in a smaller display, especially in urban areas, man. I can't tell you guys how much space goes for in some of these areas. If you live in San Francisco, if you live in New York, if you live in LA, West Side, you know exactly what I'm talking about, man. I mean, some of the apartments we live in are as big as somebody else's closets, right? So for us, making it smaller and having a semi-decent display is actually a very, very good idea. Now, is it worth the $100 plus tax? We're talking about $99.95. You know, at least it's worth $80, right? I have to say at least it's worth $80. If you want to evaluate, you know, if you really want to price it out, I mean, the one game that stands out in the collection is Persona. Persona goes for $150. I know because I'm always looking at it, right? You know, Persona 1 on the PlayStation or Persona Revelations. I'm a big Shin Megami Tensei fan, big Persona fan. I don't own it and I want it, but I'm not gonna get it for $150. I mean, I just can't drop that kind of money on a single game where I could get the PlayStation Mini, get the game, and have a little bit of extra. And on top of that, it's gonna be part of another display where I'm getting all the mini consoles, right, and putting them up and doing a tribute to the video game years, right? So I'm just trying to give you another point of view, right, rather than just these things coming out and you dismissing them. And I'm talking about to YouTubers out there, whether it's the SNK Mini, right? SNK Mini, was it perfect? Of course not, man. But how many people back in the day could afford the Neo Geo? Not many, man. Not many, right? I couldn't afford it back in the day. And that's the closest thing until now, until the Neo Geo Mini comes out, that I'm gonna have. But I'm making it part of the display, right? All these mini consoles, the Mini SNES, right? The Mini NES, they all had criticism also because they weren't perfect, and none of them are gonna be perfect, but you can crack them, man. I mean, you can put as many games as you want in there if you like to. If you don't, just keep them there. Are these mini consoles coming out, you know, playing on our nostalgia for $1? Of course they are, right? Of course they are. And are they for everybody? No, they're not. But that doesn't mean that they're not for anybody. That doesn't mean that they don't have a market, and that doesn't mean that Sony failed, right? Or Nintendo failed, or whatever company failed in putting them out. At least we have them out. In the last 10 years, did you ever think we're gonna have something like this? No. You know, we weren't even thinking about it until Nintendo came up with a little SNES, man. And then again, you know, that's why I like keeping companies, that's why I like supporting companies, because of innovation. Can you imagine if Nintendo would have died, if all their games would just been out in emulation, and, you know, we just kept on crapping on every single product they pulled out, where we'd be now, right? They would have never come up with that innovation. And I think that even though this product's not for everybody, it is for a few of us, right? And I bought two. I got one for myself, I got one for my son, because we're in the same boat, right? We're at places where space is at a premium, and something small to display would just be amazing. Again, I'm a big Jesus Metal fan. I'm not trying to, you know, do any drama stuff. I just disagree with him on this particular point. And my one suggestion to him and to any other YouTubers out there that think that this system is worthless, with the money that you get donated, or your Patreons, or your tips, or whatever, your Twitches, give it back to the community, man. If you don't think it's worth it, there's somebody out there that does think it's worth it. Maybe some kid out there for Christmas. Help out the needy, you guys. All right, that's just my 10 cents. Remember, friends, never ever be afraid to be happy, even if that means getting your own PlayStation Mini. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Boom.